Hello everyone, BurgerBrush here, bringing you an update for the 3.13 Ritual League on the Cyclone Impale champion. I sadly come bearing bad news, as I'm here to tell you that we are getting a nerf for the champion ascendancy altogether. Basically what they're doing with the champion ascendancy is that they're trying to balance it out, as I believe they thought that the Impale mechanic worked a little bit too good on champion. And so basically what's happening with this build in itself, and I do believe that goes for almost every champion build in the game that actually do plays with the Impale mechanic and Master of Metal ascendancy here, we're basically getting a 15% overall damage nerf because they're removing one of our extra impales from this. As you can see right now, it says impales you inflict last 2 additional hits. They're actually lowering this to 1 additional hit instead, which is quite a bit of damage nerf for anyone playing champion and Impale, and of course this build, as I said, as well. So yeah, it's about a 15% overall damage nerf across the board. The build is still going to be very viable and it's still going to be very strong. I mean, all the defensives are still there. They're basically just balanced out and they're basically the same. You can face tank almost everything in the game and you can still do tons of damage if you invest decently into the build. My path of building went from 7 million to 6 million DPS, so it was a 1 million DPS loss, but you know, 6 million DPS is still good with a decent investment of gear. So yeah, the build is still going to be strong, but it's just not going to be as strong as it was. Now, the one thing I gotta say though is that the Slayer version has gotten quite a buff, and since they have nerfed champion a little bit, the Slayer version is now on par with the champion in terms of damage, but the Slayer actually has better map clearing ability due to the impact node that we're going to look at right here. I now have path of building open with the 3.13 skill tree and all the ascendancy changes as well. And basically what happened for the Slayer is that they have switched positions between Brutal Fervor and Endless Hunger, but this doesn't really mean too much for us. But the main thing that they have done as well is that they removed some attack damage from I think Brutal Fervor or Endless Hunger, whichever it was, and instead they added a little bit more attack speed. So we now have 20% increased attack speed while leeching on Endless Hunger. But another thing that they did is that they added +2 to melee strike range on the impact node. So this basically gave us some more AoE radius, and on the champion version we have about 21 or 20 AoE radius, but here on the Slayer we have 24. So the area of effect radius on the Cyclone itself is much larger overall on the Slayer, which obviously enables easier and better map clearing because your Cyclone is bigger, so it's easier to clear packs. And another thing on top of that as well is that when we hit enemies when we're map clearing, we actually gain more AoE radius, up to 27, based on the impact node as well. 5% increased arrow effect per enemy killed recently, up to 50%. So our AoE radius even goes to 27 on top of that. So the AoE radius is much larger than on the champion, and therefore it has pretty nice overall map clearing ability. And as you can see, the damage is still somewhat decent compared to the champion. It's only like 100 couple of K lesser than the champion, but it's still basically the same in the end. Like a couple of 100K isn't really that much. And this also offers life leech effects are not removed at full life, so we overleech, and we also have Headsman, which is really nice as well because you cannot take reflected physical damage, so you can actually do physical reflect maps as well. So the pool of maps that you can do and pool of mods are quite larger as well, because you don't have to re-roll those physical reflect mods. So I actually think that Slayer is basically on par with Champion. Champion still offers a little bit more defensiveness and a little bit more damage, but Slayer, now with the buffs and the nerfs to the Champion, Slayer is actually pretty damn great for this build. And the Overleech actually does work with the instant leech from the Bloodseeker, and it feels absolutely great as well. Now, the one thing that we do on Slayer is that we go ahead and we grab the Swift Skewering node, which has now also been buffed in a sense because it's 1 point less. So we can put that point into some more life or something like this. You see the skill tree here has quite a bit of decent life. And yeah, with the Swift Skewering we gain a 100% chance to Impale, and our Impale still does quite a lot of damage. Now, if you're thinking about playing this build for either the Champion Ascendancy or the Slayer Ascendancy, both will still be very viable and very strong. Even with the Champion damage nerfs, it still will perform pretty easy and will be a very strong league starter as well, as the gear is usually very cheap and easy to get, and it gets very strong even early on. And just with the Bloodseeker you can instantly feel the like instant leech mechanic, and it feels great. And the Slayer version, as I said, has quite a large AoE compared to the Champion, so map clearing on the Slayer feels significantly better as well. And also for this league, as you will be fighting Maven and her 4 to 10 bosses inside this very small arena, I do believe that this build will feel quite nice, as like the instant leech mechanic helps out a lot with bosses, and if you're struggling with mechanics on bosses and taking damage, you don't have to like spam your life flask for the life of you trying to stay alive. You know, the Bloodseeker gives you instant leech, so it actually handles like a lot of mechanics in the game quite easily, as you just, you know, swirl around the room and everything basically dies. So I do believe that either one of these builds will still be very strong for this league as well. Now, remember as well, if you haven't already done this, swing over to my Twitch over at twitch.tv/burgerbrush, where I'm a full-time streamer and I stream almost daily Path of Exile content. If you have any questions regarding this build or any other build in the game, or anything in the game in general, feel free to ask. Also hang out with the rest of the community. We also have an open guild in the game that you can join if you want to hang out with the community as well. And remember to subscribe here on YouTube, and most important of all, have a fantastic fucking day, my friend.